Good evening, Eastern North Carolina, and welcome to Call the Law. I'm your host, criminal attorney Keith Williams, and with me is my co-host, civil attorney Don Higley. This is your chance to talk to a lawyer for free, to learn everything you always wanted to know about the law but were afraid to ask.
If a citizen is attacked or their home is invaded or a robbery takes place, when can a citizen exert the use of deadly force legally?
We can all relate to the concept, and it's absolutely recognized in the law that you have a right to defend yourself. Now, if someone threatens you with their fist, do you have a right to pull out a gun and shoot them? Well, probably not. You can't overreact to the threat. You're generally going to be allowed to use whatever force is necessary to protect your house from being invaded.
I heard you talking about underinsured and uninsured. How much should a motorist carry?
The only thing you're required to have is the 30. There's no set limit that you must have other than that. I recommend, just as a rule of thumb, that you got to get to that 100, six figures level, especially if you look at the difference in premiums at those different levels.
If you have a prior charge that was dismissed and you just want to get rid of it totally from your record because maybe somebody checks the record and they see your name in the charge and they don't realize it was dismissed, we can expunge that. If you go to trial and you're found not guilty, we can expunge that from your record. There are all kinds of things we can expunge when it comes to looking at your prior record.
Someone has stole my identity. A lot of stuff has gotten sponged off my record, but there's quite a few things that hasn't. A few credit cards that he had done against my credit, but I'm trying to buy a house now, and this is really biting me.
There is a process whereby you can contest it, because if you break it down to sort of its core legal elements, you didn't buy what they're charging you back for. And really you can say it's partially their fault that there's a situation where Richard could have been defrauded.
In North Carolina, isn't there a law that says only one person has to know that it's audio taping?
The general rule is going to be that as long as one person knows about it, it's legal. Now, what would be a problem would be if I call Don and some person that we don't know about has placed a recorder on the phone and neither Don knows that nor I know that. That's when you're going to cross the law, and that's when you're going to have civil and criminal liability potentially.
Is there any limit or requirement that are necessary to contest a will, and does the estate bear the financial burden to pay for those contesting?
Yes, there are time limitations. And yes, as a general proposition, what's going to happen is that lawyer is going to get paid out of the state assets to defend the will.
So unfortunately, let's say that the person who contests the will, they lose, and people like our caller who is actually a legitimate taker under the will, he's going to have less because the estate would have had to pay the lawyer to defend the will.
Right.
Wow.
I got a neighbor of mine, man. He and I had a disagreement, and he filed a communicating threats against myself. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to win the case, but I don't want this to hurt my character any at all. I've never been charged with anything. I was just wondering if you guys had any advice for me.
Nothing that you've said, as you've described it to me, would qualify as a threat. So I would think that you have a pretty good chance there of being found not guilty. I would also suggest that on your first court date, when you go to court, that you talk with the DA's office about the mediation program.
I think you're an honest, upstanding fellow, and you did us a good job. In my case, it was the state, and I feel like whoever you might be representing that you would do that same good job for, and I just wanted to pass that on to you.